But today, I'm the greatest of all time. Thank you.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo, no, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something I love. I got a poker face, but honestly, I'm not one to bluff. I flip a switch, never miss, man, I always stay up. Don't let them see you, always have a plan to stay tough. This life ahead of you ain't easy, it was built to be rough. But that's what makes a personality, is tragedy, bruh. So keep your head on your shoulders. Now we ain't out here moving rocks, we out here moving boulders. Now we ain't getting posterized, we out here making posters. And we ain't got nothing to hide, we move forward like soldiers. You better wake up for the pay stub, or you'll pay up. Don't make love to the game, bruh, fuck the game up. Change up, rearrange stuff to your greatness. Same us for the way up, play the game, bruh.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top, yeah.
You know I'm always honest, there ain't no way I'll ever stop it.
I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top,
I'm always flirting with pain, she like to hurt me and maim. I'm always working to change, but she's still lurking the same. I keep on building a dynasty while the haters be trying me, but they hate from inside.
All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Unscripted Live here on the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. I'm your host and producer this evening, Logan Landers, and join me as always to my left, Jay McLovin. What's going on, Jay?
Hey, I'm doing well, Logan. You're not going to believe this, but the Rockets actually beat the Nuggets. What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive indeed, my friend. I know you're rolling high early on this NBA season. Down below me, with the Lakers logo, as we can see. Now, Lake Show, Frankie C. What's up, Frankie?
Hey, you're not going to believe this, Logan, but the Lakers won without LeBron James last night. Let's go. Hey. The West is the best.
There you go. And, of course, our special guest this evening, man, will be talking about interviewing. As you know, he is a former NFL player, was also on Survivor in Season 22, and is also an inventor. A lot of just tremendous stories we're going to be talking about, as well as his brand new book, which you can find a link to in our description. It's called Aggressively Human, Discovering Humanity in the NFL, Reality TV, and Life. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve Wright. How you doing this afternoon, Steve?
I'm doing well. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. We are pumped to have you here on the show. Once again, check out the book on Amazon. We have the link in our description. You can check it out there. You can get it any version you prefer on Kindle, audiobook, hardcover, paperback, however you prefer it. You can get this tremendous book. So, Steve, let's get right into it. We'll just go ahead and get right into the questions. So let's just talk about what was the – we'll go with the reality TV first and foremost. We'll start off there. That's a question from our other cohort, Dustin, who's not able to be here today. But he wants to know, what's the toughest thing about being on Survivor? You were on Season 22. You're on there for quite some time. What was that like, first off, just getting on the show, and also what do you think maybe the toughest part of being on there?
Sure. It's funny you'd start off with that because my wife always gives me a hard time. I played in the NFL for 11 years. Nobody recognizes me from 11 years in the NFL. They recognize me from 30 days on Survivor. It's just like, it's kind of crazy, but that's what people want to see and talk about. And for one, I just got to start off by saying I'm under a contract about this thick. I can't say a whole lot what was going on inside the game. I had never seen the show. I go down once, maybe twice a year to see Howie Long down at Fox Studio, and with a couple other buddies, and we hang out there in the green room. And the lead casting director was in there with Jimmy Johnson, who was on Survivor the year before. Right. And over the course of 4 hours, she talked me into trying out for the Survivor. And the finals were coming to LA. And so I went down there, and long story short, I ended up in Nicaragua and hungry on my first night. I ended up it was an opportunity that I'm really glad that I said yes to, which I write a lot about in the book. If a door cracks open, I'm charging through it. It feels good in my gut. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm going to fly through. And if I run into a wall, so be it. I'm going to, at least there's going to be no coulda, woulda, shouldas in me. Like, damn, I wish I would have tried that.
Right.
But, 31 days later, I'm 33 pounds lighter. Wow. I get home. I haven't seen my parents or talked to them in a couple of months. And so I'm going to go see them. But when I land back in Los Angeles, my front tooth is just really sore. So I go see my dentist first, and he takes an x-ray, and he comes back and he goes, we got to pull that right now. No, doc, this is my front freaking tooth. You're not going to pull my tooth. He says, you have more bacteria in there than I've ever seen, and this kills people in third world countries. Because like I always say, this was your toothbrush, this was your toilet paper.
Yeah.
This was, you were just foul dirty. So I show up in my parents' house, 31 pounds lighter, back to my high school weight. I went there at 250. Mm-hmm. I tried to put on some muscle, kind of to represent the old gray-haired guys, and just barely hung on. I show up at their place, 31 pounds lighter, missing my front tooth. What's wrong with you, boy?
Yeah.
Man.
All right, Jay, go ahead and ask a question, my friend.
Yeah, kind of sticking with the Survivor thing. I was just curious. We watched in Big Brother this year, where Sari, who also was a member of the Survivor crew, I think she may have even won her season. I'm not 100% sure, but I know she was in Survivor. And then she goes and does Big Brother. Is that something that you would be open to? Doing a Big Brother type of show like that?
No, not at all. When the casting director asked me if I wanted to try it, she was also the head casting director for Amazing Race. And she said, you want to try out for one of those? I said, well, to be honest with you, I've really never watched either one of them. Which one would you do? And she said, go with Survivor. So I went and did my thing and got back and lost my tooth and all this weight and everything else. And they called me about 2 years later and said, hey, we'd love to have you back on. I hung up the phone so fast. I said, thanks, no thanks. It was an amazing experience. And I'm so happy and proud that I did it and survived it. It was quite a unique experience, literally starving. Right. And you just have got to deal with starving. There's no snacks. The show is 100% real. Everything that if you see someone in there that's being looked at as a prick or something, they're a prick. I was caving in. I wouldn't want to do any other shows like that. No. So the long story to answer. No, I'm through with television.
All right, one and done. All right, understandable. Frankie, do you have any questions for Steve Wright?
Well, first off, Mr. Steve, thank you for coming on the show. I know you're under contract, so I'm not going to talk about Survivor. I did have some inside Survivor questions, but since you're under contract, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to get you in trouble, and I don't want to be like the guys and continue asking some Survivor questions. So we noticed that, you've been to 3 or 4 NFL teams in your career, 11 seasons. Which coach, because I know you've been through many coaches, which head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, which coach was the toughest for you in your NFL career?
The toughest. They were all tough in different ways. And it's how you learn to respond. I started off with Tom Landry. And he was tough as hell, but never talked above this. He was just really cool and calm, but said, Steve, you're out of here, or you're going to go run 100 more 100-yard dashes. And he commanded an amazing amount of respect. The biggest prick was Frank Cush, who I would have loved to kick in the nuts during practice. He came from Arizona State and didn't know how to deal with men, and there was so much disrespect from the other coaches to him. But he held the crown. He was the guy. So it was no matter how bad you got injured on a Sunday, tweaked knee or a sprained ankle, you were going to either walk it, hobble it, or crawl the 3 miles back into the woods and back out. Where he had coaches along the way to make sure, and they'd have to check off that, yep, Steve Wright got to the halfway point and turned around.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just beyond a prick.
I didn't know that there was an Urban Meyer before Urban Meyer.
Yeah, man. I dropped a dime on both of them. Urban Meyer comes up in my book too. Yeah, Urban, I put him in the same can as Cush. But when I got out to the Raiders, it was they weren't as tough. It was more of a family kind of thing. Art Shell, sure, he was tough, but he was one of the boys. He'd been there and knew how to deal with the guys and knew how to give you plenty of slack and have fun. And just when you're at the game, man, even at practice, when you show up with your helmet on, know your plays, kick ass, and so they all had different degrees of being tough. If that's you get all that.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So, Steve, you mentioned the Raiders, so I got to bring it up. So we know that after, some stints with Dallas and then Indianapolis, you went to the USFL and then came back into the league with the Master Raiders, as they were called, with the replacement season with all the players and refs and whatnot. So what was that like? What was that call like whenever, all that was going on?
It was amazing. So I got to the USFL. We only made it 1 year. I had a 3-year contract. By that time, before that time, when I got traded, you really start learning you're a product. And so you got to take care of yourself. So I go to the USFL. I got a much better package than was being offered to me from the ESEN in Baltimore and Indianapolis. So I end up, when the USFL folded, my head coach, Charlie Sumner, had been the defensive coordinator for the Raiders for the previous 10 years before he jumped to the USFL. So once a Raider, always a Raider. They brought him back, and he brought myself and Anthony Carter back to the Raiders. And first line of business was holding a picket sign when I got down there. So I didn't know anybody, and I'm walking a picket line. We're just doing circles and chatting with each other, and the news media is out there. And up in the second floor window is Al Davis and Al Locasal and other coaches just looking down at us, with disgust, naturally. And so after about 30 days of doing this, something like that, everybody was disappearing. There's 50, 60 guys out there for quite a long time. And we'd work out together, and then we'd go walk the picket line together, and they all started disappearing. So about the 30th day, I dropped my sign and went over to see my parents. And the first night I got back there, we were having dinner, and the phone rang, and it was Al Locasal saying, "Hey, Al wants you back here right now. He's going to jack your salary up to this. He's going to guarantee that." And I said, "Beautiful." I said, "Thank you. I'll call you in the morning. I'm just sitting down to dinner here," and hung up the phone. 5 minutes later, he called again and said, "Steve, damn it. Al is pissed. He's going to jack you up to 50% guaranteed, and he's going to do this." And I said, "Great. Awesome. I'll call you in the morning. I'm going to finish eating. I just landed here with my folks. I want to spend some time with them." So then I hung up the phone, and then the third time he called again in about 5 minutes and said, "Steve, we got to have you back. We're going to guarantee 100% of it. We're going to jack you up. We're going to give you a signing bonus. We're going to do all these other things, but I need you back here in the morning for the morning's practice." And I said, "Bink, I'm on my way." So I got back there, and there was still a few guys walking the picket line, but you just knew from watching the news and everything else that it was about ready to fold. Right. And it was going to fold pretty quick. So I ended up signing this sweet deal. I come through the guys in the morning, and that afternoon for the afternoon practice, everybody came through. And it's just part of my luck, and it's I write about it more in the book, but it's just part of my luck that the timing of things. I got in there, I signed this fat contract, 100% guarantee, and I broke through the line 3 hours before the rest of the league did. Wow. So I got in there, and there was a lot of finger pointing and some scuffles after practice and everything. It was a bad experience all the way around, but I was looking out for me at that point. I was the first 30 days when I didn't know anybody. I was out there for the team guy, just thankful to be carrying a sign. But then when it comes down to it, like I was saying earlier, I'm a product. We're just easily traded and cut and everything else. So I was really happy with my decision. Nobody ever brought up another issue with it for the rest of my next 7 years with the Raiders.
Yeah. And Jay, before I kick it over to you, a question we got from Dustin here. And since we're still on the Raiders topic here, he wants to know just what was it like playing with Bo Jackson, blocking for him, and how do you think Bo would do in today's league?
I think he would do excellent in the league today, except for it's going to a lot more passing now, where you've got a guy like Marcus Allen who is a great blocker and a receiver. Bo just liked to run with the ball, give him the ball, and he made us all look like heroes. So anytime you see Bo making a long run, say in Seattle when he ran 91 yards up into the tunnel, I'm pulling from right tackle and I'm supposed to be leading him. Mm-hmm. I didn't even get around to left tackle and I'm chasing him, just looking for fumbles. There's not a chance to get out in front of him. You hold your block for half a second and he's gone. It was amazing to watch. He was a specimen, and he didn't lift weights. Did his own thing. Was really quiet, but an amazing teammate. I got a couple of great stories in my book about that as well. We went down to Anaheim to watch he and the Kansas City Royals play, and he brought me into the dugout, and he was just a great guy to the inner circle.
Right.
To the inner circle, he was a brother. To everybody else, he was rough.
All right, Jay, what's your next question?
Yeah, it's an off-topic question, but is there any conversation or experience that didn't quite make it into the book that's a favorite of yours?
It's funny you would ask that, because I was asked this question the other day, and I'm trying to think of some things, but it was just a fun one. My rookie year, we'd been in training camp for 5 weeks in Thousand Oaks, and we just got through with our first, I think it was an inter-squad scrimmage, and we had the night off and the next day. And so a buddy of mine was there in a limo waiting for me with 3 or 4 other guys, and it's so unlike somebody of the cowboy, clean and neat and straight status. You be a gentleman and everything else. And I saw my buddy standing up outside the limo with his head sticking up. Come on, let's go. I took a run and I dove up on the back of the limo and I slid down into it head first, down into the hole. The limo took off. And it was just like, that's not what you do as a rookie free agent trying to make the team. And I went down, and I think I had maybe 3 beers, and I was, bombed. I hadn't had a beer for 6 months, and all I remember is throwing up, and the limo driver driving me back up by myself from Hermosa Beach back up to Thousand Oaks, and dumping me out on the lawn.
Oh, God.
Yeah, there's some other wacky stories. I'll have to think of some others, but that was one that really kind of stuck out.
Oh, man. Frankie, what's your next question, my friend?
Yeah, so you've been through kind of a lot of success already, NFL, TV, and Survivor. Now you're becoming a famous author in my book. You're looking to be a famous author now. Is there anything that you would have loved to do or still kind of want to do that you haven't done already? So, such for like cameos or movies or anything like that?
No, it's a great question, but no, it's if I see something or feel something that I want to do, I do it. A wacky thing is my wife and I traveled around the world right before the pandemic, 9 months. And just carrying a backpack, and we got into Indonesia, and they don't have a whole lot of toilets. It's a hole in the ground, and so I thought, wow, this is weird. But my curious mind, I started Googling it, and ergonomically physiology, for your physical body, when you squat like that, you open things up, and it's an easier, more complete. No one likes to talk about it, but it's a real thing. We all do. But it really cleans you out. So I got back here and dug into a little bit more. Long story short, over the course of 3 years, I've got a patented toilet. It's like, what? What a weird thing to, and I call it the courtesy 180. You always say, hey, how about a courtesy flush in there? Well, when we traveled around the world, I'm reaching back, and we're staying in 50 different Airbnbs, and so it was just, I simplified the standard toilet, and it's also ADA compliant for wheelchairs. So everything is turned around, so a wheelchair can just go slide up to it instead of reaching back to try to find the flusher. The flusher's right there, because now you're leaning on the tank in front of you. There's handles on it for older people or people handicapped or heavy, and they just have a hard time getting up. There's handles on the side of it. The squatty potty is built into it. It's the squatty potty is so popular, and that's to get your knee joints higher than your hip joints, and that's what opens things up. So I've got a ramp built into it, so it's for all sizes. So you can slide your feet way up, and your knees are right up, by your ears almost, if it needs to be. Yeah. And so now, once things start to slow down with the book, I'm going to start. I've already done it once, but I've got like 30 of the top toilet manufacturers, from Toto to Standard, and all these guys that I've going back and forth with a little bit, and just try to either sell the patent or lease it for a decade or something. No, I've been fortunate. I've done everything that I've wanted to do to this point, but yeah, there'll be a lot of new interest, and my wife and I will pursue them.
And so, Steve, since we're talking about your invention, you just mentioned obviously the Courtesy 180. Talk about Cloudburst. I mean, it's the company that was first to provide NFL sideline mist cooling, which a lot of people see, but they never really think of when it got here or the person who brought it here. So what was your reasoning behind cool. Cloudburst? Obviously,
thank you. I'm actually hard to believe, but I'm almost a little more proud of that than my 11 years in the NFL.
Wow.
I was 1990, I think it was. I was in Palm Springs, and it's blistering hot in the desert, and I was sitting at a restaurant about a month before training camp started. And the mist was blowing above the restaurant to keep the patrons cool. And I talked to the manager how to set this thing up and what it's all about, the little pump and motor and some stainless steel and some nozzles. And I brought it back to Art Shell and asked if I could try putting it on the sidelines. And he thought I was nuts. It took about probably 3 asks from him. And he finally said, yeah, you can do it, but if it's pissing anybody off, I'm going to tear it down. And the thing was a huge success. He just grabbed me like in the first quarter of the game. We were in the Coliseum, not a breath of air stirring. It's 80 degrees. Everybody's just frying except for people standing in front of these misting fans. And then so during the game, there was a couple guys from Hollywood Park sitting in the stands, and they came down and gave their cards to a ball boy who brought them over to me and said, hey, these guys want to talk to you. Hollywood Park is a racetrack that now is where SoFi Stadium is built. Okay. So they had, it was a big racetrack. And so I went over there on a couple of off days, and then in the off season, and installed a ton of these machines. It was just the stainless steel running down the middle of the stables. Then it just kind of just turned into an animal on its own. I ended up getting in 1,500 Home Depots and Lowe's and Costco's and Targets and Walmarts, and then landed the 96 Summer Olympics. And that's a whole nother story. That's a really pretty cool story. On the theme of my book is just really, a lot of it is just treating people like everybody the same, just treating people cool and being kind. It comes back to you, and it's come back to me throughout my life. But I really point out a few of the specifics, just for instance, if you get a quick story.
Go right ahead.
In the locker room, a guy was schlepping a new pair of football cleats, and nobody was giving him the time of day. And I watched the guy kind of walking around, and everybody's kind of brushing him off. It happens a lot in the locker room. It's a pretty cold place unless you're, one of the teammates. And
Right.
nobody wanted to talk to this guy. And finally, I said, "Dude, what do you got here?" And he showed me his shoe, and I said, "I'll try it." So he went back to his team. I wore it on the field. This guy went back to his brand new team with his brand new shoe. That's the only shoe they had, and he was a hero. And so now, fast forward about 6 years, and I'm trying to get the contract to cool the Summer Olympics in Atlanta and do a dog and pony show against Raytheon and GE and all these monsters that, for sure they had it. So we end up coming home. We come home, and I'm just happy that we went and gave it a shot. I get a call from this guy, and his name is Mike Ariano. And he's in charge of all the field of play at all the venues at the Olympics, the 96 Summer Olympics. And he said, "Steve, you don't remember me, but I'm the shoe guy that you were cool to." He goes, "Everybody else pushed me away. You were cool to me. And now it's your turn. You trusted in me. I trust in you. Make it happen." And it's like, whoa,
Man, that's a heck of a story. That is wow.
It's a great story on just trying to be cool to people and not expecting anything in return, and crazy stuff comes back to you. And I'm Buddhist, and I call it, it's karma. It's treat people right, and you're in charge of your own destination.
All right, well said. Jay, I think you got enough time for one more question, so go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I guess my question is, out of all the coaches, that you've played for, and even coaches that you haven't played for, was there a specific coach that you would have, or I guess, is there a specific coach maybe that you didn't play for that you would have liked to have played for?
Bill Belichick.
What did you say? A real coach?
You said.
You have to forgive Frankie. He's a hardcore Patriots guy, but out of all the coaches, I mean, the Don Shula's, all the great coaches, or even often, like what Logan was saying, coordinators or what have you. Is there anybody that you didn't for?
Not really. I mean, when you start off your career with Tom Landry, come on, it's like that. I'm at the peak, and everybody else after that is gonna have to accept. I really liked Mike Shanahan. In the short time we had him with the Raiders. But he was outside the Raider family, coming from Denver, but I really liked that guy. And I was fortunate to have Ditka. It's been fun playing for him in '85 when they won the Super Bowl. I've got a lot of great stories. He was my biggest mentor. He'd grab me around the neck and take me for walks. He was my special team coach and the tight end coach with Dallas. So here I've got Tom Landry, and then I've got Mike Ditka. I've been all the meetings there with him with our special teams, and he'd take me for walks and give me life wisdom in just a nutshell, and shove me back into the mix. But I've got a lot of great things that he passed on to me in there.
All right, Frankie, your final question for Mr. Steve Wright.
It gets no better than having two coaches that are smoking cigars all the time in the locker room. I bet in both Tom Landry and Mike Ditka. That's an amazing moment and story. So my final question, basically, I'm gonna turn into the Survivor for a minute. I was trying to ease away from it.
Might as well end with it. Let's go.
I might as well end with it. Do you still maintain friendships or anything like that with those cast members that were in that show still today?
Yes, I do. A guy named Mike Chiselle, who was in my season 22, was in the Marines, lives down in south of Orange County, North San Diego County. Great soul. He was the first one that I hooked up with there in Survivor. Because when you get there, we've already been together for a week and a half, something like that. And we're sitting at the same table eating and doing everything, and you can't connect, you can't meet, you can't talk, because they want it real when you hit the ground. The helicopter lands and we all jump out. So it's real. I had never met him. I saw him, and sit next to the guy, and so we ended up becoming really good friends. Obviously, we're sitting around for 24/7, literally. by the fire or sitting out in the water, neck deep, trying to stay cool in the water for 3 hours. And you really get to know each other. Yeah, there's a couple other good souls that were there. A firewoman, I can't think of her name right now. We used to be in touch, but Mike and I still connect once in a while.
All right. And Steve, my final question. We've talked about your inventions. We've talked about your football career, your time on Survivor, of course. But now we can talk about your book, as you see on the screen, Aggressively Human, Discovering Humanity in the NFL, Reality TV, and Life. My final question, sir, is what made you want to go out there and become an author and write just stories upon stories? And also, we always have to ask if there's a second one potentially in the works.
There is not. This is a one and done.
Okay.
It was something like you just said, stories and stories and stories, and I've got those. I'm fortunate to have a lot of stories and learn things along the way, and I've jotted a few things here and there, but it was during the pandemic, and I just had the time, and it is time consuming. Just started writing, and the theme of the book, the spine of the book kind of came together along with the title. You definitely don't start with those. And my wife is really into the writing as well. We ended up watching all the master classes of writers. Went to a few conventions, book conventions, and it just started to really bite me. So I just started writing, and I thought might as well start at the beginning as a young kid, and then oh yeah, that crazy time in 7th grade, or oh, that 12th grade, I went into baseball. And I, just lived it for 8 months. Be in the shower and reach out with my phone and make a quick note of something. And it was such an amazing journey. I couldn't recommend it more for everybody. It's remembering things that I just had long passed. I had a picture of myself and 10 other guys at probably my 8 or 9 year old birthday. And I remembered most of their names just from going back in time and just living the book. It was an awesome experience. And then the theme kind of started to come together, and it's doing so much better than I ever imagined. It was the number one last week, number one new release for football biographies. So it's doing well. It's a simple, fun guy read, Playboy Mansion and drugs, but also too, on top of that, it's just mentors and life lessons and watching others and just growing and working always on just becoming a better person. And
Steve Wright, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Where can people connect with you on social media, and where all can they purchase the book as you see on the screen here?
I'd love them to come to my website of writeauthor.com. And then Facebook, I think it's Aggressively Human FB.
Okay.
And Instagram, I believe, is Steve Wright NFL. But all that is at simply just writeauthor.com. And in there, I've got probably 50 rotating photos of Bo and I sitting there, or, Howie, and stories, and all the podcasts that I've been doing weekly. Every Sunday morning, I put out a new one. They're all in there. Great little snippets of the book. But yeah, writeauthor.com has got everything for Aggressively Human.
All right. Well, y'all have heard it here first. Steve Wright, once again, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day, your busy schedule, for coming on the show and talking about a little bit about your life, your book, and your just amazing stories that you've had throughout your life. And we'd love to have you back on again in the near future.
I'd love to. Thanks a lot, guys. I enjoyed the time.
Yes, sir. We appreciate it. Well, Jay McLovin, Frankie C, of course, myself, Logan Landers, and our esteemed guest, Steve Wright. Thank you all for watching another episode of the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. We'll talk to you again on another live episode. We'll see you soon.